Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us back to the same destination as our latest episode, Ergaki National Park in Krasnayorsk Krai in Southern Siberia, Russia. This area is relatively low in elevation, but some peaks reach to nearly 7,000 feet high. The park is acclaimed, with the same prestige as American national parks like Yellowstone and Yosemite, but the climate here is very different than either of these. Ergaki has vast stretches of taiga, which is a mix of swamps called muskeg, and patches of trees like Siberian Pine and Larch, as well as various species of spruce and birch trees. Grasses, sedges, and willow bushes crowd the shore of bodies of water and provide food for the browsers and grazers of the area. Russian wild boar, moose, and numerous deer species grace the land with their beautiful antlers and majesty. The predators of this area are particularly dangerous, and the kings of this area are undoubtedly the brown bears. Brown bears must take in 20,000 calories per day just for survival. In order to put on enough weight for hibernation, they need a regular amount of nearly 58,000 calories per day. Most of the food sources available to bears in the spring are nutritious shoots and sprouts from sedges and other plants. They're not high in calories, and to reach the 20,000 calorie goal for survival, each bear would have to take in almost 42 pounds each day if it were their only food source. Over the summer, sedge grasses lose about 50% of its nutritional value and 75% of its protein content. This means that if bears have to rely on it for too long, they'll be eating sedges that are less and less nutritious as the spring goes on. On June 21st, 2021, a 16-year-old boy, whom we'll call Boris, was helping out a group of tourists as they hiked through the park. His official position was a Sherpa, but I'm not sure if that's a translation error or what, as Sherpa are primarily from Nepal. Boris's main job was to lead the group on the desired trails and find good places to camp while they enjoyed the backcountry of the scenic park. Boris was reportedly not carrying bear spray or a firearm, so to say that his job had an element of risk would be understating it a lot. After a few days of trekking through the mountains and their stunning valleys, the group pitched their tents and made camp for the night. Their typical practice was to hike several miles in any given day, then find a place to stay for another day or so, while they explored the sites around their camps. As they moved camps, the scenery and options for adventure would change and gave them time to enjoy each campsite. On the day in question, the group had been up on one of the ridges taking in the views and photographing the amazing scenery. After the better part of the day hiking from one nearby location to another one, the group decided to return to their camp just before lunchtime. As the group was heading down the trail to camp, Boris decided to take a shortcut. He knew the area well enough to know it would come out at camp, but the others decided not to drop off the ridge at that point. They elected to stay on the main trail, even though it was a longer route. The tourists arrived back at camp but couldn't find Boris. They figured that he should have beaten them back to camp, but perhaps he got lost on his way. They expected him to show up at any moment and set up for lunch. After lunch, Boris still had not returned, and the group started to seriously wonder where he was. After several hours of waiting for him, they decided to gather a group of them to go back and look for him. After waiting a total of 9 hours for Boris to arrive, the two volunteers, whom we will call Yuri and Kirill, left the camp to retrace their steps for clues to Boris's location. They went back up to the top of the ridge and found the fork in the trail, where they had seen him separate from them. They followed his tracks down the spur trail for a few hundred yards, and eventually their camp came into view, about 500 yards across the small valley. As they approached the bottom of the valley, a brown bear ambushed them from the brush. The bear jumped from the brush and was momentarily confused as to which of the two men to attack. Yuri drew the short straw, and the bear knocked him down onto his back. Kirill yelled and tried to distract the bear from mauling Yuri. Yuri pulled out his pocket knife while the bear was on top of him. It was all he had, and he wasn't about to let the bear hurt or kill him. He stabbed the bear with a small blade several times as it tried to bite onto any portion of his body. He managed to bob and weave enough to keep the bear from biting him severely while he continued to stab the bear with his knife. Yuri had plunged the knife into the bear's neck several times, and it lost a lot of blood. It seemed to get dizzy and staggered around, and then collapsed. Yuri had seemingly killed the bear with his pocket knife. The men managed to break away from the bear together and scrambled several hundred yards back to camp. They alerted the other campers, and they all departed to find a park ranger to relay the incident to Ergaki Park authorities. They returned to the scene where they had left the dead brown bear with armed rangers. and found the location where they left the dead brown bear. When they got close to the bear, they could see it was not dead, and it was guarding something. The ranger could see the bear looking around and heard it woofing to warn the humans away from its location. The rangers took aim and fired a rifle shot into the bear, but couldn't follow up with another one before the bear disappeared into the bushes. They slowly approached the last location they saw the bear and noticed it was laying over the remains of Boris. The bear had ambushed him on the cutoff trail and killed him, and then cached his body. The authorities looked over Boris's body and could see that about half of his corpse had been consumed in one night. They immediately began tracking the bear down by following its blood trail. They followed the blood trail for several hours before calling the hunt off until morning. After sunrise, they returned to the location and immediately found the aggressive bear. It was still belligerent and defensive in its behavior, probably due to its still searching for Boris's cached body. The rangers shot the bear one last time, bringing its killing spree to an end. Authorities tried to find a good explanation for this fatal attack. The winter this particular year had been longer and colder than previous years. Biologists indicate that the early season browse that brown bears rely on may have been late in sprouting, causing distress on the local bear population. Another contributing factor that was identified was the fact that the campers had deviated from the typical hiking routes traveled by humans. They maintained that this departure from normal human areas may have put Boris in the bear's hunting territory. Carol suffered no injuries from the confrontation with the bear. Yuri had numerous scratches, cuts, and bruises from his wrestling match with the bear. He was treated and held in the hospital while remaining in stable condition. Boris was the lone and only fatality in this bear attack. 2021 was a noteworthy year in Ergaki Park as bear attacks were on the rise. Boris's death was the first of 2 human deaths in which the brown bear consumed the corpse of its victim. The second happened to Yevgeny Starkov as he camped with his friends, which we covered in our prior episode. The unnerving and frightening pattern caused park officials to close the park for several months until November, when the bears should be hibernating. Given that brown bears here do not attack, kill, and eat humans very often, an environmental cause has some credibility. Variations in berry seasons, winter duration, and even salmon runs can cause dramatic strain on the food sources of the bears. If the local population is anywhere near its support threshold, many bears may go hungry and turn to food sources far from their typical fare, including humans. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think a bear that initially attacks out of surprise, as in a defensive attack, could decide to consume its victim after killing him during the mauling? Is the population of bears too high in certain areas of the world, stressing their food systems out? Given that hikers don't have frequent problems with bears when they stay on their planned routes, could the bear have mistaken Boris for another animal? Do you think this bear was stalking the campers, given that it ambushed Boris a mere 500 yards from their camp? I will enjoy reading and replying to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.